The grand hall of the Galactic Council gleamed under the soft light of 10,000 crystal spheres, suspended in a perfect grid above the assembled dignitaries. The hall itself was massive, capable of hosting over 50 different species, each with their own preferred climate zones and atmospheric conditions. In the center of it all stood the Council's central dais, an elevated stage from which decisions of galactic significance were passed down. On this day, the mood was tense, but not entirely hostile. Not yet. Humans were new to the Council, barely 20 years into their tenure as members. In the eyes of most, they were seen as one of the lesser races. Their homeworld had only recently advanced to interstellar travel, and though they had shown diplomatic skill, they were peaceful to a fault. Other species had histories of conquest warfare and the violent expansion of their empires, but humanity, the humans, had negotiated their way into the Council without so much as a raised fist. Arrayed in a semicircle around the central dais were the most influential members of the Council, leaders of empires that spanned hundreds of star systems. Foremost among them was Grand Arbiter Varel, a towering member of the feline-like Zenithar. His black fur shimmered under the crystal light, his golden eyes glowing with the simmering arrogance his species was known for, and his voice held the low rumble of a predator. The matter of human involvement in the Drexian conflict must be settled today, Varel declared, his voice carrying throughout the hall. His gaze flickered toward the human delegation. We, the Council, have been monitoring this situation for some time now, and it is clear to us that humans are unsuited for military intervention. Seated near the back of the hall was Colonel Mara Ortiz, a decorated officer of the United Earth Command. Her uniform was stark against the vivid array of alien fashions around her, but her expression was unreadable. Flanking her were two other humans, Ambassador Cole, a skilled diplomat, and Major Ethan Greaves, her second-in-command. At Mara's side, sitting quietly and unnoticed by the aliens, was a German shepherd, her faithful companion, Rex. Varel's eyes narrowed as he continued. Humans lack the capacity for true violence. Your species is far too peaceful. It is not in your nature to engage in sustained warfare, especially on the scale required against the Drexian Armada. Their strength is unmatched, their tactics ruthless. We fear that human forces would be a liability. The room filled with a quiet murmur of agreement from the other council members. The Drexian envoy, a six-armed reptilian creature with scales as hard as iron, leaned forward, clicking its teeth together in a sound that signaled amusement. Humans are a diplomatic species. Let them negotiate with the Drexians. They may be able to talk them into submission. Several of the other council members chuckled. Though Mara remained stone-faced, Ethan's jaw tightened beside her, and his hand instinctively moved to the hilt of his sidearm. Rex, sensing the rising tension in his master, let out a low growl that was barely audible to human ears. Ambassador Cole cleared his throat. The United Earth Command did not come here to request your permission for involvement. The Drexian Armada has threatened human colonies, and we have a duty to protect our people. We are not asking for assistance. We are merely informing the Council of our intent to defend ourselves. Varel's lip curled in disdain. And how do you plan to defend yourselves, human? With words, with trade agreements and negotiations? The Drexians do not care for diplomacy. They will slaughter your people, and we, the Council, will not risk a greater galactic conflict by involving ourselves in your inevitable defeat. Mara finally stood, her boots clinking against the polished floor. Every eye in the hall turned toward her as she stepped forward, her posture straight and unyielding. She met Varel's gaze without flinching, her voice steady. We're not asking you to risk anything, but don't mistake our patience for weakness. We may prefer peace, but we know how to fight, and when we do, we fight to win. A ripple of laughter ran through the council. The Drexian envoy clicked its teeth again, louder this time. This is entertaining, truly. Humans fight. You've never faced an enemy like the Drexians. They'll be upon your colonies in a matter of weeks. Your species would do well to evacuate and leave the war to those who are capable. Ethan shot a sharp glance at Mara, but she gave him a small shake of her head. Let them talk, her eyes seemed to say. They don't know what we're capable of. Varel leaned back in his seat, his tail twitching with amusement. Colonel Ortiz, we have observed humanity for many years now. You are a fascinating species, but your time among the stars has been marked by peace, diplomacy, and cooperation. You have no history of conquest or war on the galactic scale. We fear your kind would not survive the wrath of the Drexian Armada. Mara took another step forward, her gaze unwavering. You think we've forgotten how to fight because we prefer diplomacy? Let me remind you, Arbiter, that Earth has seen its fair share of war. You just haven't been paying attention. Her words hung in the air for a moment, the weight of them slowly sinking in. The council chamber fell silent, the laughter and murmur fading into an uncomfortable quiet. Rex, sensing the shift in tone, stood up, his ears perking, eyes alert. Ambassador Cole leaned forward slightly, his voice calm but firm. Humanity has always sought peace, but when war comes to our doorstep we fight, and we don't lose. Varel's amusement faded slightly, but he remained skeptical. We shall see, Ambassador. We shall see. The Drexian armada arrived on the edge of human space, faster than expected. The first reports came in from the outer colonies, massive warships bristling with weapons, tearing through the frontier defenses like they were made of paper. The Drexians were not interested in negotiation. They did not send diplomats or messengers, they sent fleets. Mara stood on the bridge of the UES Resolute, a newly commissioned battlecruiser, one of Earth's most advanced warships. Beside her, Major Greaves watched the tactical display with a grim expression. The Drexian fleet was moving in fast, their ships numbering in the hundreds. Earth had never faced a threat like this before, and the rest of the Galactic Council had remained silent. They weren't going to intervene. "Status?" Mara asked, her voice steady. "They're almost in range, Colonel," replied Lieutenant Ramos, the ship's tactical officer. "Our defenses are holding, but it's not going to be enough." "They have the numbers," Mara nodded. "We've trained for this. Remember, they think we're weak. Let's show them how wrong they are." She tapped the console on her armrest, opening a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Colonel Ortiz. The Drexians think we're an easy target, that will fold under pressure. Let's show them what Earth is made of. We're not running, we're fighting." Across the fleet, human ships prepared for battle. The Resolute powered up its primary cannons, and the smaller frigates and destroyers moved into formation. Every soldier on board was tense but ready. This was the moment they had been training for. Ethan stood beside Mara, his hand resting on his sidearm, as always. "You think we've got a chance?" he asked quietly. Mara glanced at him, a small smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "If we didn't, we wouldn't be here." Rex stood at her side, his eyes fixed on the view outside the viewport. The dog had been with her through countless missions, his loyalty unwavering. He was more than just a companion, he was a soldier in his own right, and today they would need every advantage they could get. The Drexian ships came into view, their slake black hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. They moved with terrifying precision, like predators closing in on their prey. But this time their prey was ready. "Fire," Mara ordered. The first volley of human fire streaked across space, slamming into the Drexian ships. Explosions rippled across their formation, but the Drexians kept coming, their return fire brutal and unrelenting. The battle had begun. For hours the two fleets clashed, the void between them filled with the fury of war. Human ships weaved between Drexian warships, using hit-and-run tactics to exploit gaps in their defenses. The Drexians were powerful, but they fought with arrogance, expecting an easy victory. Mara watched the battle unfold, her mind racing through tactics. "They're overextending," she muttered. "They think they've already won." Ethan looked at her, frowning. "So what do we do?" She grinned, the fire of battle in her eyes. "We lure them in, let them think they're driving us back, then we hit them where it hurts." She relayed the orders, and the human fleet began to shift, giving ground but staying just out of reach. The Drexians took the bait, pushing harder, their ships breaking formation in their eagerness to finish the fight. But Mara had studied them, had anticipated their arrogance. When the Drexian fleet was fully committed, Mara gave the signal. The human ships wheeled around with deadly precision, converging on the Drexian flagship. The Drexians realized their mistake too late. The flagship exploded in a blinding flash, and the Drexian formation fell into disarray. One by one the human ships picked them off, cutting through their ranks with relentless efficiency. In the end, the Drexians were forced to retreat, their fleet shattered. The humans had won against all odds.